your roster has to be set before the game now, and that's a big deal. He may not be ready. I mean, all right, it's only Tuesday, but a lot could happen in 2 days. But I don't think he's spending the entire next 48 hours in a hyperbaric chamber to heal up. If you know what I mean?
No, the disconnect of the team saying, look, man, we don't think we've got him anymore this year. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm trying to be back on Tuesday, man. So, and I get it. Maybe he's willing to injure himself, and the team will have to step in there and say, look, slow down, cowboy, And I'll tell you what, I do like it, and this is just a reason why I've really always had some respect for Jabal Sheard, is he's a true team player and a football player. Jabal Sheard's a free agent this offseason coming up, and he's already done enough good work that he's going to make a decent contract, no matter whether it's with the Browns or whether it's with somebody else in free agency. A lot of guys, when they're up against free agency and they've got an injury and they've got the opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to sit out the last 6 games of the season and I'm going to heal up because I don't want to hurt myself for the future. You look at a cat like Derrick Rose saying, hey, I got to worry about my legs when I'm 40 and 50. Forget the fact that you're paying me millions now to use them. But the fact that he's going, hey, I don't care about my future free agency. I want to play for this team and help them try to win some games and make the playoffs. I do like that. I've always had a good appreciation for Jabal Sheard, his work ethic, and his love for playing on the Cleveland Browns. And then really, the Browns have jerked him around through different regimes. They've moved him through different positions. They've really moved him all over the place. There was a couple of times I thought he was going to end up cut through no fault of his own, just because every time you switch from the 3-4 to the 4-3 and then back and forth and all of that, you keep going, well, where do we put Sheard? It doesn't matter where you put Jabal Sheard because he's just a football player and he's going to play.
Yeah, no question about that. He's a gamer. He gives you 150% every time he's on the field. So, we can understand that he wants to get back out there and practice and get ready. But by the same token, I don't care how much you want to play. If there's a possibility of a more serious re-injury, you're not going to do that. And I'm sure the team doctors and the head trainer are going to, like you said, get a grip on that one. He ain't going too fast.
And without having him, and we talk about Dansby, those are just 2 more hits. That's where I was going with this. Whether Sheard plays or not or any of that, you've got more depth issues on this defense. And that's where I was going, is on the turf, in the dome. Matty Ice does do a good job of putting up points with that defense. They've got some weapons running the ball. They've done a terrible job this season rushing the football. However, they do have some guys that can beat you. And as we've seen, we have no problem taking guys that can't beat you and making them able to beat you. I'm not going to take away from Al Blue from LSU. I'm not going to take away from Denard Robinson, except for the fact that he never ran against anybody before he ran against the Browns. Either way, point being is Falcons have guys that could run, but they haven't done it. They're averaging just 96 yards a game on the ground, near the bottom of the league. The Browns, even with their struggles in the recent weeks running the ball, they're still top 15 in the league rushing. Pass offense is where the Falcons excel. Clearly, you've got Julio Jones, you've got Douglas, you've got White, you've got all kinds of weapons receiving-wise. You've got Matty Ice delivering them the ball, Matt Ryan. They're top 5 in the league in pass offense. That's where the Browns are going to have to buck up here. They're going to have to continue playing good pass defense. We saw K'Wan Williams. We saw Joe Hayden with some good plays last week. We saw those guys step up. They're going to need to do that a lot because that's where Atlanta's going to try to beat you. They're going to try to, and if they get the running game going, the Browns are beat because they'll play action just like the Browns do. They'll just use the Browns playbook, except they'll have those big athletic wide receivers out there taking it up and down the field. So that's where the Browns have to watch out.
And you know what generates offense. You don't have any of the offense without your offensive line, and that's a huge offensive line. That's like almost 2,000 pounds across that. All 5 of those positions. So the Browns are really going to have to penetrate, and there is going to be a lot of responsibility on Joe Hayden and the other defensive backs to contain their passing game.
Now, I'll say this, for those of you guys who are looking forward to Josh Gordon, while I don't expect him to be Superman for the final 6 games, he does have his probably one of the best opponents he could have for his debut game. The Atlanta Falcons are dead last in the NFL in pass defense. They've given up the most yards per game through the air, and that is a huge opportunity for Brian Hoyer and this Browns offense to get going with Josh Gordon. And we've seen these other guys have done a very, very good job without Gordon. And Pettine said yesterday, we're going to include Gordon in the rotation, but we're going to be smart about this. We're not going to bump guys out who have been blocking downfield, who have been blocking in the run game, who have been doing all the grunt work. You don't just turn to those guys and say, hey, Miles Austin, all you guys, sit back. Josh Gordon's back. We're going to put him up in the number one spot now. And that's true, because that's how you get a team full of guys that go, hey, kiss my ass, coach. I've been playing for you all season, and you're just going to move me to the side because this guy who did us wrong in the off season is going to come back out here. So, and that's why I don't expect him to take a majority of the reps. I think he'll get mixed in just like everybody else. But all of those receivers, little Taylor Gabriel leads the league in yards per catch, per reception, and I expect them to take advantage through the air of that Falcons pass defense. So it'd be a good test for Brian Hoyer in that offense to see if they can get untracked against undoubtedly the worst pass defense in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a pretty good assessment, and I would definitely, if I were Coach Pettine right now, I would be concerned about the middle of the field. Your quarterbacks prove that they can have a good game and sustain maximum coverage ability against the opponent's wide receivers. But I would be worried about the tight end and the running back coming out of the slot and in the middle game, and that's what's going to be Cleveland's problem on Sunday defensively.
Looking forward to seeing how it goes. We'll get more into the full, breakdowns and stuff of the game. As I said, there are those weapons. That's it. I'll tell you what, the Browns, and here's an interesting, and maybe this is because they're so bad against the run that this is kind of the counter of it. Obviously, Browns are 29th in the league against the run. They're top 10 in the league against the pass defensively. But again, one counters off the other. When teams know they can run on you, they don't pass on you as much. So I don't know if that's a red herring type of stat or if that's something you can lean on. I can tell you that Matt Ryan's going to test it because that's one thing that the Falcons can do is pass the ball. They've got receivers and a quarterback that can get them the ball, and they're much faster in that dome than they are on the road. So Brown's going to have to go on the road and win, and they're going to have to do that, period, if they want to make the playoffs. They've got 6 games left. They're 6-4, but 4 of those 6 are on the road. So they're going to have to do it. They've won 2 of the 4 they've played on the road so far. And again, we'll talk more about that in the future. I want to get into some NFL stuff with you before you get a chance to get off of here, my man, Dr. Football. Let's start. We're doing the initials here. Take our pick. DEA, AP. J.J. Watt was all over the place. Adrian Peterson suspended for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's definitely an alphabet soup this week.
Absolutely.
I guess we can go with the DEA first. And
I want to start with AP, my man. Let me start with AP. Suspended
all right,
here.
okay.
He was looking to get back in. And there was a lot of talk him back in. NFL quickly said, let me just go ahead and shut this conversation down before it starts. And they announced that he has officially been suspended without pay for at least the remainder of this season. And there will still have to be an attempt to get him reinstated. It's no automatic reinstatement at the end of this season. Players Association said that they're going to appeal it immediately and try to get Peterson back out on the field, but people were waiting to see how the NFL was going to respond to Adrian Peterson's guilty plea, even though he did have the charges significantly reduced in what he pled guilty to. But the NFL said it does not matter. And I'll tell you what, when you read the letter that they sent to AP, they talk about, we want to get you into a situation that helps you succeed, and once you do that, then we're more than willing to re-engage you about re-entering the league. And as long as people can say, well, they've never done it before, because that's what Adrian Peterson's people are saying right now. That's what Ray Rice's people are saying is inconsistent punishment. You didn't do it before. That's fine. When rules change, that goes out the window. You can no longer talk about the way we did it before. Before women were allowed to vote, you couldn't talk about before. Now they're allowed to vote. I'm just saying that's a policy change. Before it, things were different. Now the policy has changed, and that's just all there is to it. Same thing there. No matter what you say about how the NFL disciplined people before this year, it doesn't matter. Whatever precedents you set now, as long as you continue to be consistent from here going forward, that's all that matters. We're not talking about the old rules anymore.
Yeah, right. And, Goodell got caught with his pants down a little with the Ray Rice thing, so obviously...
Not a little, a lot.
Just a little. And, he wants to put forth the right foot, and he wants to let everybody know that, things are going to be different now. And that's true, but there is something to be said for the level of punishment and currently as opposed to the level of non-punishment previously. And obviously, the NFLPA has some really good lawyers. I've met a few of them. They're very smart guys. And, they think they can get this, twisted around, more power to them, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think that Peterson has to accept the fact that he's out of football this year, and that's it. And it would be better for him at this point if he kept his mouth shut and he didn't play, and he took a break and he worked on, I guess you could call it these little personality flaws.
Yeah. Let me tell you. Let me. You're listening to the Sports Fix, Dr. Football, J-Rock talking here. We're talking a little bit about Adrian Peterson. And let me just clarify. Again, I've got huge issues with the NFL and with Roger Goodell and with everything that they did before and during all of this, before previous cases and with Ray Rice. None of what I'm saying now is to let any of that go. I still think that Roger Goodell should have ended up out of his job, and they should have just wiped the slate clean here and really changed the accountability across the board. But that cannot be used to also argue in favor of Adrian Peterson. Like, I'm looking here, and I'm going to read the actual letter here that they sent. I like some of the quotes because they, regardless of whether you say, well, the NFL never did this before, I don't care. That's somebody else's problem and somebody else's argument. My argument is they're doing it now. We can be mad at what they didn't do before, and some people should be held responsible for that. But because somebody didn't punish somebody for doing something yesterday that you just did today, that does not bar me from being able to punish you today just because somebody else didn't get punished yesterday. That's a different argument. Go make that to a judge. Go sue the league. Go do whatever you want. I continue to argue it is a privilege to play in the NFL. The union, when they countered this morning and said that this is a credibility gap with the disciplinary process, the league is attempting to ignore their own rules and impose new and arbitrary disciplinary proceedings. To me, I don't have a problem with that. If they want to be as arbitrary as they want to be, it's exactly the same way as saying the NBA owners can choose to throw one of their own out because he said words that they didn't like. That's their choice. They voted as a group, and they said we're allowed to do it, and that's all there is to it. This is a social club played in cleats, brother. This is a business environment, and just like any other business, they can pick and choose the people that they allow to be a part of it, and I don't have a problem with throwing everybody out that breaks the law, just to be honest with you. You can say, oh, J-Rock, that's not fair. That's fine. I'm not barring you from going to work. I'm barring you from playing football for millions of dollars because that is not a job. That is a privilege and something that you have to, I'm not saying you have to earn it, but you can't give it away either. You know what I'm saying? And once you give it away, brother,
you do have to earn it. You do have to earn it, Jerry. It is a privilege.
Well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You know what I'm saying.
And when I was coaching, I tell the kids that all the time. I say, listen, and I say it when I use the word kids. I mean, because I'm an old man compared to these guys strapping on the cleats.
I know what you're saying.
I tell the kids the same thing. I say, listen, you want to play? That's great. You have talent. That's great. But you have it all together from the neck up. What's going on upstairs? How are you going to proceed? And, it's just as quick that your career can be over in 1 second. And, I saw we had a situation back east college team I was working as the postgraduate assistant for in 2006. Talking to the guy on Monday in the meetings, and on Tuesday in practice, Thursday morning we were taking him off the field with a fracture